Hey everyone, I am Joe Biesmeyer with Bounce House 101, and what I want to talk a little bit about today is the difference between being busy and being profitable. There's a big difference here, and a lot of people jump into the party rental business and they just want to get a ton of equipment that they can rent out and just fill up their calendar. So they get rock walls, mechanical bulls, foam machines, bounce houses, all this type of stuff, and they just think if they have a ton of stuff to rent out, they fill up their calendar, all of a sudden they're just super profitable. And that's not the case at all. Just think about if you're in a truck doing deliveries and your phone's ringing because you're doing setups and you're missing calls for potential customers, anyone who might be wanting to book an event with you, and you're missing that phone call, no one's getting back to them. Maybe they book with somebody else, or maybe someone's calling while you're doing a setup and you have no way of responding to them and they have a broken blower or something's not functioning right with their bounce house and you have no way of getting back to them. So then you're getting bad reviews. So just because you're busy and you might have a ton of deliveries, if you're not set up for success, you're not going to be profitable. The whole point of doing everything in this and starting your business and being successful is so you have money at the end of the month to make that decision. Do I want to keep some of this money, put it in my pocket, maybe go on a vacation or pay off some debt that's been sitting around way too long? Or do I want to use some of this money and reinvest it back into the business and grow my business? But these are all things that we need to consider. So just because you're busy does not necessarily mean that you're profitable. So in this video, we're going to dig into it and just see, are you busy or are you profitable? When you're ready to start looking at if you're just busy or if you're actually profitable, the first place to look is actually at your inventory. So you want to see not necessarily what just goes out the most, that is important, but you want to look at kind of not the lower end items cost wise on your inventory list and not the most expensive, something in the middle. And what we usually fall into is the combo units. Those typically are right in the middle of our range between cheapest item and most expensive item. And the easy thing with combos also, it's a two-man crew to do all the setup and deliveries. And that's pretty much what we stick to when we're setting up a delivery crew. We have a driver, we have a helper, and a truck and trailer. That's it. Something that doesn't require 20 people to go and do some huge water slide setup or a huge obstacle course. We just want it to be two people that can just drive around all day setting up bounce houses. And so those combo units kind of fall into our bread and butter there. We can rent combos from $350 up to about $650 all day long. And those two people can just drive around house to house setting them up, 8 to 10 rentals a day easily. And that's the most profitable because they could set those up within 30 minutes probably, depending if it's going in a backyard or a front yard. If they could just pull right up to it, set it up, I mean, they're in and out within 30 minutes, and that could easily be a $500-$600 rental. So if we can just do a ton of those, I'd have an amazing business. It's very scalable. We're not doing huge things that cost us $10,000-$12,000 to buy these giant water slides. You know, we could stick with combos that we could spend $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and buy a really good combo and then just rent them out every weekend long. So they're not super expensive. The customers can afford to buy them. They're also not small and really cheap. They do a lot better than just a square bounce house that we might rent for $200. So it makes us the most money, and our guys can just drive around, set those up all day. The other thing is really hard to get labor. So I don't have to go and get 20 people to work a weekend, just 2 people, and it works out great. The other thing is you don't need any fancy equipment with that kind of setup. I don't need to go and buy box trucks and all sorts of expensive trucks, just like a Chevy Silverado 1500 or a Ford F-150 and a trailer and just a manual dolly, and they can set up combos all day long. So when you're ready to start looking at this, look at your inventory and see what's working the best for you. Kind of double down on that equipment that's going out the most, but make sure you're looking at what is going out that can get set up really easily with 2 people, that's it, and that can be done fast. That way they can just do a ton of those all weekend long. The next thing you want to consider when you're looking at equipment to purchase in order to grow your business, making sure you're not just busy, but you're actually profitable, is you want to make sure you're getting equipment that doesn't have a ton of accessories. When we get into bounce houses and combo units, and especially the smaller obstacle courses, it's super easy to train new staff to just get in there, teach them what they need to learn within a week or 2, and get them going on their way. And the way you do that is just by sticking to easier bounce houses. These things just take a blower, a 100-foot extension cord, stakes, and a hammer. That's it. They put all those accessories in the bed of the truck and they can go do setups all weekend long, and it works out great. But when you start looking into some of this inventory that takes a lot longer to train new staff, we have a jousting arena that has the pedestals. You got to grab all of those. You got to grab the headgear, the safety gear, or if you've got a sticky wall, you got to grab different size sticky suits and all this type of stuff. It just causes so many issues out in the field. It's really hard to train new staff with this equipment when you've got all these accessories and different items take different things in different quantities. It's just way too confusing. A lot of the of guys will get out there and they'll set up an event just to find out they don't have the pedestals for the jousting arena, and their event's getting ready to start in 30 minutes. So that makes us look really bad, could lead to a bad review. Or the other thing is the guys are picking up and forget something over by a tree. They left the headgear over by a tree, and now someone has to go back out there and pick up that stuff. So it just makes it really confusing, a lot harder on the staff, especially training the new staff to not forget all this stuff or what to grab whenever they're leaving. So when you just stick to some basic bounce houses, combos, smaller obstacle courses, it's way easier to get them up and going quicker. The main focus about all of this is you're trying to scale up your business. You want to not be in a truck doing all these deliveries. You want to get equipment, train up staff to go and run those deliveries all weekend long. That way you can continue to stay answering the phone calls, responding to emails, and continue to grow your business, not working in your business. If you're looking to just fill your schedule, then if anybody calls, you would just do their event no matter the place, the time, location, you would just fill up your schedule. But that's not the best way to do this. What you really want to do is tighten up your delivery route. So if you have an event that's an hour and a half north of you, and then you take another event that's an hour south of your warehouse, you're gonna spend all day driving around just to get those two events. And it might be $500 one event and $500 for another. So I'm not sleeping on $1,000. That could do great for your business, but you're gonna spend all day driving around just to set up those two events. The best thing to do is split that out. Maybe you drive one route that's north and you have someone else drive a route that's south. Or if you have multiple trucks going out, then you can really separate them out to where they're the most efficient possible. And the other thing you can do is if there's any events in a city that's maybe 30 miles away, maybe jump on Facebook groups that are in that city and just see if there's any other events going on, any birthday parties or barbecues that you could also set up bounce houses. You really want to tighten up that delivery route, make it the most efficient possible to where they can really maximize the profits on that entire route. The other thing we like to do is overnight rentals, and we might offer these for free, or we might charge the customer if they want it overnight for a certain pickup the next day. But sometimes they just want it till 8 o'clock at night, and that might be our only pickup for the night. So we might say, hey, can we just pick it up the next morning? It's no additional cost. We'll come out at 9 o'clock the next morning, pack it up and get out of your hair. And a lot of people will take that and they'll say thank you for that because you've now let them have their party late in the evening, and it's not costing you anything extra, and it's preventing us from having to go right back out that night to do one pickup. So definitely look at your routing, look at your scheduling, and just try to make it the most efficient possible. And that'll also help prevent a burnout for you and all your crew. Something else to look at when we're talking about being profitable is just because you have a giant event, a big ticket event, doesn't necessarily mean you're more profitable with that. And what I mean by that is we do an event every year. We've done it for years now. It's at a city about an hour and a half away from our warehouse, and it takes a lot of manpower to put on this event. We'll do between $12,000 to $15,000 every year, but we'll have to send multiple trucks out there, usually 2 trucks. One truck just has sandbags on it, and we lose a lot of crew. We have to bring on extra help in order to get this set up, but it's a city fair, so all the bounce houses get set up along the street. We have to put sandbags down, and it's also a logistical nightmare because we have to be in and set up at a certain point, and our trucks have to be out of there, and then we have to get it picked up at a certain point. We can't leave it overnight because there's no security and things like that on the street. They remove the barricades and everything has to be cleared out. So it's just really hard to put this whole event together to make sure it happens. Also, you got to make sure your guys are showing up. It's just a lot more work on the back end. We also end up having to shut down that day a lot of times for many years because we run out of crews in order to do the things that are closer back home. So we have to shut it down to go and do this big event. And yeah, it is a much bigger event, and I would never quit doing that event. We've done it for so long. But the thing is, I would much rather have a lot of closer events back home to where I can stick with that 2-man crew. They can just drive around setting up those combos all day. I'm really not involved in that. With these bigger events, I tend to get way more involved in it, probably more than I should. And I work a lot with the scheduling and then the routing and then making sure the guys are showing up, everything's getting set up safely and correctly on the street, and just making sure we're out of there and everyone's happy that's putting on the event. So there's a lot more work that goes into that. So just because it's a big event, a big ticket item, doesn't necessarily it's more profitable. It takes a lot more trucks, a lot more people, and a lot more fuel and maintenance in order to pull some of those events off. When you're ready to start looking at being more profitable and not just busy, the things you're gonna wanna look at is your minimum order amount. So one thing that we set up is just a minimum order. Anything, ours happens to be $200. It's probably gonna go up, but anything under $200, we just won't do. There are some options. If you have the ability to offer customer pickup and drop off, you could offer that up. That way you can kind of keep the cash flow coming in there. But if not, if that's not an option for you, set set that minimum amount. Yours might be 300, yours might be 400 or 500, but set that minimum order amount, because what we'll end up doing, since we offer tables and chairs, we do that as upsell items with our bounce houses. We'll get calls for 2 tables and 20 chairs, and the order might come to $100, or it might be a little bit more, a little less. But the thing is, if it's under the $200 mark, then we just won't do it at all. So what that does is it ends up costing you money, because you're gonna send a delivery crew out there. You're paying them an hourly rate. You also have workers' comp and payroll taxes, and then your truck, if you owe money on that, you got a loan payment there, or maintenance and fuel costs, all these costs associated to do this delivery, and it's gonna end up costing you to go and do a $100 delivery. So you don't wanna do that at all. So look at that minimum order amount. That might be something that you might need to increase if you currently have one. Just figure out your current cost to go and do that event. Make sure you're covered there, and that make sure your margins are high enough that you're making money on that. The other thing that helps us out a lot is we set up the parameters of our time for delivery and also for pickup. So right now we have it set up at 9 a.m. is the earliest setup that we do, and then 7 p.m. is the latest pickup that we offer, and we operate anywhere in that timeline. So what this does is we will still offer delivery and pickup outside of that, but what this does is gives us the opportunity to charge the customer accordingly. So anything outside that timeline, we charge the customer $150, and it really makes the customer think that if they really need it at that time. So we'll get several people say, oh yeah, I need that bounce house there at 7 a.m. And we say, okay, that's $150 per hour outside that window. So for an extra $300, we can have that set up for you, and it'll be ready just in time. Now they'll start thinking, well, do I really need it at that time, or could we actually make your schedule work for us? And that's what works best for us, because then we don't have guys out super early in the morning and late at night. So these are things you want to look at. It gives you an opportunity to do upsells, which also increases your profits when you're charging extra. You could also pay your guys a little extra. We like to give incentives, maybe a little bonus, buy them dinner. So it could cost you a little bit of money, but you'll definitely make more money off the customer with that additional time slots. If anything, it'll help you be more efficient now, to where your crews aren't out so much, and it prevents overworking them and just being out late or early. So consider that minimum order amount. Also consider the timelines of when your guys are working, and then make it the schedules work for you, because that's how you're gonna be the most efficient. So in conclusion, being profitable is what's gonna buy your freedom, and you don't wanna be stuck in a truck all day long, all weekend long, running routes, doing all the events set up yourself. You wanna be able to have good, nice, fast, clean equipment that's easy to train new employees, to where they can just run around setting up combos and obstacle courses, and you're not even really involved in it. Because after all, I'd much rather have it to where I'm making money when all my guys are busy, rather than only making money when I'm busy. So if this is something you wanna learn more about, check out bouncehouse101.com. I have a contact me tab on there. You can click that, shoot me an email, set up a coaching call with me. I'd love to help you out. Also, we offer mastermind groups. We start these groups all the time, and we meet 1 hour once a week, and we just talk about different business strategies, marketing strategies, lead generation, all sorts of tactics like that. So if this is something you're interested in, reach out to me. I can't wait to hear from you.